Benedict Spence is still joining me. He's a Conservative commentator in his, for no good reason, unicorn tie. Good morning to you and your unicorn tie.
Hello, how are you?
Although, we was going to invite old Mardy today. Richard Tice came into the studio about an hour ago. He pointed out you're in reform colours.
Yes.
You've also got a reform-coloured
phone.
Is it something you want to share with us?
No, I'm just teasing. Just knew he was coming in.
I've always thought it'd be the worst thing if you were a Lib Dem, having to constantly wear that awful shade of yellow.
I know. If it was like a sort
there
of
aren't
a
many
mustard,
people that yellow.
at least you could wear Nigel Farage's cords, but, you know, actually you can't.
Anyway, today we are talking about tech billionaire Elon Musk backing Reform UK, meeting with Nigel Farage and also the new party donor Nick Candy about making a major donation to the party, saying he wants to defeat both Labour and the Conservatives. Is this a game changer? What is your reaction? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Also, Labour standing accused, once again, I mean, it's a day with a Y in it, so they're accused of hypocrisy and lying yet again, after abandoning promises made while in opposition to compensate the WASPy women. Those are the women who were hit by a 7-year rise in the state pension age. This after the Work and Pension Secretary rejected the Ombudsman's call for £10 billion in payouts to women currently aged in their 60s and 70s. That's 10 billion quid of your and my money. For once, Liz Kendall is right. Except she was wrong in opposition when she said she did want to compensate them. We'll talk about Labour lies and hypocrisy in a mo. Also, the former Liberal Democrat parliamentary candidate who is suing the Liberal Democrats for £90,000 after she was labelled a bigot by her own colleagues for doing what? Well, wearing a T-shirt. I own a number of these indeed, that says simply woman, adult, human, female, because stating biological facts is bigotry now in the Liberal Democrats and for many others as well. We'll talk about that madness. And police were unprepared for the scale of the disorder that broke out across the UK following the Southport attacks. That's what a police watchdog has found. We'll talk about that as well, and the promise of police cuts coming up. This is Talk. Welcome to the home of common sense. Welcome, as I say again, to Benedict Spence. Let's talk more about Elon Musk, because that's the question I most want to hear from people today on. Is this a game changer? What is your reaction to Elon Musk basically in that meeting? You know, he ain't bothering. He's a busy man. If he's having a meeting with Nigel Farage and Nick Candy, the Tory donor and property tycoon, is now the Reform treasurer and bankroller, about giving, you know, I mean, this $100 million figure apparently was, according to Richard Tice, we spoke to about an hour ago, plucked out of thin air. I doubt very much those sort of sums would be necessary, but a huge sum of money. I want to know what your reaction is to that. Do you welcome that? What do you feel about, you know, foreign billionaires, even though legally being able to spend money through his own companies here in the UK? Is that the answer, or frankly, needs must? What do you feel about, you know, where the Reform are in the polls now? As Richard Tice pointed out, you've got 3 parties now in the polls in their 20s, you know, the 20 percentage mark. You know, does that tell you that actually, you know, politics in this country is changing, regardless of first past the post? Give us a call. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. You can text the word TALK, send your message to 87222, and you can also send us a message on X at TalkTV. I have to tell you this, but calls are charged at the national rate. Text costs 1, standard network rate message. Only have to say that once more this year.
That's nice.
Very excited. I say that in my sleep.
You'll mess it up, the last one you have to do.
Of course I will.
Of
course I will. I'll talk about how we do. The kids' Tom was trying to backtrack breakfast.
Yeah.
You know,
hostages and sausages.
Bring back
Cost
the
1
sausages.
standard network sausage. Message.
Benedict, is there the possibility of Elon Musk getting involved in British politics the same way he's been involved in American politics, back campaigning and bankrolling Donald Trump? Is this a game changer?
I think it could be, and I do think that it's going to be a strategy that you don't just see here. I think it'll be across Europe, and I think that there is an understanding now in a certain section of the American right that Europe is its backwater, it is its backyard, so to speak, rather, and this is somewhere where there can be a lot of change managed for relatively not much money, certainly compared to what has been spent in the past. A lot of this, you know, we have to be clear here. I don't think Elon Musk would just be doing this out of the goodness of his heart. He'd want something out of this. But is it specifics? Is it good conditions for his companies? Or is it because of a broader vision? Does he want a more competitive UK, because that actually helps him in terms of business in the US? And does that actually end up dragging Europe closer into the US's orbit, because then it has to keep pace with the UK? So one has to wonder about what it is that's motivating that. I'm not saying it's a nefarious thing at all. People, because we have this, don't we? Oh, foreign money, it's all influence, it's all negative. It doesn't necessarily have to be negative. But I would be curious to know what it is that Nigel Farage, what vision is it of Britain that he is promising or saying to Elon Musk we could do to make Elon Musk go, yes, I'll part with a very large amount of money for it. Yeah.
I mean, again, we know that Elon Musk gets involved in politics in terms, he bought Twitter direct for political reasons. It was not at the time a good financial move. As it is, the influence that he's had, which may have had an impact on things like the Trump's presidential return, will have paid off very, very well for him in terms of shares. He's worth a lot more now. Do I think that's why he did it? I think genuinely he is someone who genuinely feels that freedom of speech is absolutely vital. And what I find amazing is the number of people on the left who were so horrified by Elon Musk getting involved, whether it's with with the Republicans in America or, say, Reform here and getting involved politically here. They are not remotely involved when it's big tech billionaires in California who are totally trying to completely affect the elections through Facebook, through, and through Twitter previously. The way they have censored and controlled freedom of speech on lockdown, on net zero, on women's rights against trans ideology when it's impacted on us. Women campaigners basically saying, things like woman is an adult human female, a man can't be a woman, being banned for life from X, then Twitter, for saying things like that. People, look, we had Google, we had Google take our YouTube page down here, 3 strikes and you're out. And in fact, it's only the power of this organisation that backs us that meant that our page went back up again, because apparently we were telling, COVID untruths. We weren't. There was nothing. It was all completely backed up by science. They were top scientific and medical guests making verified, scientifically proven statements. Now, I'm sorry, if we're going to have billionaires on one side having that influence, which I wish they didn't, then we're going to need the Elon Musks as well.
Well, you're already seeing a cultural change in Silicon Valley. I mean, Google,
totally.
Microsoft, I forget what the other one, the big one, doesn't matter. They're all very clearly still leaning sort of left wing. Yeah. But it's very clear that
they're left wing apart from the fact that they're
Jeff
they're
Bezos
all about
is now
making money.
Jeff Bezos. Well, this is my point. Jeff Bezos, by telling his newspaper, The Washington Post, not to endorse Kamala Harris, made it very clear which way he was swinging. Mark Zuckerberg also seems to be going through a bit of a transition rightwards. So there is, I think, a lot more balance than there used to be. And now that there is that balance and it's a level playing field, well, there you have it. Donald Trump wins in a landslide. There's a lot less. But
I don't care who they support. They can be like, but don't try and distort the conversation in the town square.
But this is the point. They're not necessarily doing it just because of their political views. Elon Musk might be, but I think Bezos and Zuckerberg in particular, I think they're a lot more business oriented.
It's about the money.
Yeah, and they see what's good for business, good for their industries, good for things like space exploration in Bezos' case, or AI in the case of Zuckerberg. They are about progress as much as anything else, and progress means them getting richer.
They're only about making money. That's all they're about. There's nothing wrong with that, but they need to stop pretending they're about anything other than making money.
You get money by progress.
Yeah, but their aim is not progress. Their aim is making money.
You've just fallen into that very typical...
I don't think us living in an AI world is progress. I think that's dystopian, horrific stuff.
You've just fallen into the very typical British problem, which is it's all motivated by money, and therefore it must be nefarious.
No, I didn't. I said the opposite of that. No, I
said they're motivated by making money.
I said they're motivated by making money, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I think when you're worth 200 billion, I think that becomes an irrelevance. I actually think
this is the thing I find bizarre. No, they want it's power and money. Money gives you power.
Legacy. Legacy. You don't think that matters? You think that Jeff Bezos is getting to space because he thinks in his lifetime that'll be profitable? It won't be. That's sort of 100 years in the future.
I think he does, but I think he's got a vision in a different way. I've got no problem with any of these people. They can think what they think. They can do what they want, as long as they don't censor and punish people who disagree with them, which is what they've been doing. And the one thing about Elon Musk is he is not censoring and punishing people who disagree with him, and so it's free for all. Then you get all these idiots who go, I'm leaving Twitter or X, going to go to this whatever it is, Blue Sky or whatever, because I want to be with nice people. Sorry, all the abuse and all the nasty stuff is coming from your side.
I think what we have to recognise actually is, and you and I can disagree on this, but progress is what the UK needs. It's what the entirety of the human race needs, and what we have is a series of Silicon Valley billionaires who are embracing that because of their pet projects, be it AI, be it space, be it whatever, and they recognise that government, as has been in the last few years, is not conducive to that progress. Maybe it's about money, maybe it's about legacy, maybe they are simply fixated about this because they are nerds. That actually I think is a lot more to do with it. That's what they're focused on. Whatever it is, they want to get that out of the way because they want to push forward. If we can have that in the UK, just a little snippet of it, that's fantastic for everybody. But I do think that there is a massive drag in this country, which is the belief that everybody's motivations are bad.
Yes, I agree with you on that. 100%. We need to get over that. But also the sort of people. Anyone who's made money must be again exploiting people, which is the Labour view. But I think also crucially, we do need to progress, and I want that progress. But I think there's very strong evidence when you look at productivity that a lot of us being held back is we're being held back by the state, by public sector workers who are just not producing, public sector managers. And if we got someone like Elon Musk who came in, just swept a lot of that away, I think we would see a completely different world. Just want to let you know some breaking news that's just happened while you were speaking. It's been confirmed the sale of the Observer newspaper, it's one of the oldest newspapers in the country, it's the Sunday arm of The Guardian, has been confirmed sale to Tortoise Media. Now, Tortoise Media is run by James Harding, a former editor of the Times newspaper, actually, and it's an organisation that they run, a sort of website. They've never made any money themselves, but they reckon they can make money with the Observer. The Observer actually makes more money than The Guardian, I believe, so a bit of a worry for The Guardian. I mean, they're selling off assets. There's a big question mark about this, and I've got a lot of good friends who work at The Observer.
Doesn't The Guardian lose so much money because it gives so many free copies to the BBC?
Yes.
Isn't that part of the problem? It prints out hundreds of thousands and they all end up in
Well, now they're all in Downing Street, The Guardian, aren't they? But yeah, so the sale of the... Do you think that matters?
Tortoise Media, it has the occasional interesting thing. It's failed, I think, to grip the national sort of agenda.
The whole thing is we don't do breaking news, we only do proper analysis and...
Which, to be honest with you, well, the problem is I don't actually think their analysis is that good.
No.
I think it comes after the fact, and it is very much what you've probably read in the Times 2 weeks before.
The thing is, it's all very much of the sort of the Rory Stewart, Alistair Campbell...
The Sage
the John Sopel, Emily Maitlis, all of that stuff, which is all doing very well. Lots of that stuff is doing very well financially, but it's all that same stuff, and they go, we need to have this... Seriously, you've already got the BBC and Sky. You've got this already, guys.
And all of those people that you've just named, they come out with the stuff that Tortoise Media comes out with earlier. That's the problem, actually, is that they do it a lot quicker. And I understand the idea behind it, but I don't really see this as a thing.
We shall see. Again, I just think... whether it's a newspaper or a news organisation with which I agree or disagree, I just want a range of views. In no way should anyone be threatened by a view that either someone competing on your own turf or someone competing on opposite turf. The more outlets we have for proper considered news and analysis and verified news, stop getting your news off TikTok, for the love of God. Get your news from, proper news sources.
Like Twitter.
But people I follow on Twitter are the people who are actually news journalists who are breaking news. People who you need to follow people who are losing their jobs if they get it wrong. It's important to have people who just can't just spout any old mad nonsense. And then people talk about censorship. It's not censorship. People are just saying things that are categorically untrue and unprovable. But there we are. Let's also talk about the WASPy women. We talked about that quite a lot in the last hour, so not quite so long a chat this time round. But government's basically accused of hypocrisy once again, lying. They've not paid out... Well, they say they're not going to pay out the 10 billion quid in compensation to these women in their 60s and 70s. They were affected by the state pension rise being equalised, state pension age, equalised from 60 to 65. There was a European court case that had to be done, and quite rightly needed to be done. Should have happened many years ago. But also the pension age rising by another 2 years. So there were a bunch of women who were really badly hit. They lost, 7 years of their pension. Well, if you're just carrying on working in your well-paid job, that's fine. You actually are better off. But for a lot of these women, they were carers. They didn't have enough money to survive those 7 years on the carers' income. They'd expected to get their pension sooner. A lot of them were not informed, they say. They didn't bother reading the papers. They didn't know. They didn't watch the budget, as a lot of people don't. They weren't aware. I think the government, I think Liz Kendall and the Rachel Reeves and the Claire Stump, I think they are correct this time to not offer this compensation package. It's taxpayers' money now and taxpayers in the future that who have to pay this out. I think, I'm sorry, your ignorance, your failure to prepare properly is not my problem and shouldn't be my problem. I would like us to give us some help, as the former Pensions Minister, Ros Holtman, said, to those who are particularly in hardship. I think that would be the right and decent thing to be. But it ain't 3.8 million women getting a couple of £1,000 each, which is what the Ombudsman has said in his inquiry report. However, the really big issue here, I think, for a lot of people who aren't individually affected is that Labour said one thing in opposition. 2019, they promised compensation. 22, you had Liz Kendall, Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner all saying, we absolutely back this WASPy campaign. It wasn't in their manifesto. To be fair, it wasn't in the manifesto. That should have been a giveaway to the WASPy women. But even if it was, you're pretty sure, aren't you, that they would have backtracked on that, because they backtracked on most things in their manifesto. But the key thing is here is You can't believe or trust a single thing that Labour said before they got into power.
No, but we already knew that, to be honest, when, before they got into power. Actually, if we were being completely honest with you, I think
we
most
were pointing that out.
Yeah, most people were saying, actually, guys, that none of this all sounds a little bit too good to be true. And also, have you seen their record when they are in government? Actually, it's much of a muchness. Look, this is a silly amount of money. And a silly number of people to say, oh, would be due compensation, would like compensation.
Most women who knew about the pension change and weren't impacted should get compensation. For what?
Well, it's a proper kind of... There are so many people who are being hard hit in this country for all kinds of reasons, except one kind of group, and that seems to be actually upper middle class pensioners who just seem to be able to, every single budget, every single year, don't get hit. This year, for the first time, they vote. They do vote, but sooner or later, you end up with that expression, a gerontocracy, where everything is done for those people because they're the only people that vote. But you know what? The system then collapses. You get a system where the NHS doesn't work, and who uses it? It's those people.
Yeah, but I blame young people for that. If you don't vote, in my views, when anyone complains about anything in this country, I would say, did you vote at the last election? Did you vote in your local council elections? If you don't vote, I don't care what your opinion is, because you're not performing your civic duty of having a say.
One thing on that, one major thing that is impacting young people disproportionately in this country, and that is mass migration. That affects their wages, that affects their services, that affects their house prices. They have not had a say over that. And the other thing is actually older people who also voted against it have just been
not had a
flat
say
out
because we've
lied
been
to.
ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. Saying, oh yeah, we'll bring it down to the tens of thousands. Haha, no, it'll go up to the millions. It's on this one thing, and people are justified in being furious. And you want to know why Reform are riding so high in the
I don't know
with
why,
barely any manifesto? That's why.
And this is my thing. I've been saying for this. I mean, I've been yapping on about the immigration issue since 1990. I mean, I think 1999 when I was.
You were 18,
yes. Yeah, exactly. No, 1999. Yeah. So old. I'm so old. Since about 1999, when I was at the Sunday Express, I was writing about this stuff. We were called out. We were outliers then. We've been right about everything. Honestly, the stuff we talk about on this station, we've been right about everything. Get with the programme, guys.